Hey, hello, friends. This is Charles Bird welcoming you to the May 6th, 2023 edition of Rant-Om Thoughts, where sacred cows are grilled and killed for your lunching and munching pleasure. I have a kind of a psychological quirk. You see, whenever I leave home without any sort of timepiece, say my wristwatch or my phone, which has a clock on it, or even my pocket watch that I like to wear with my three-piece suit, I tend to feel vulnerable without it. And if I lose my watch or if it becomes damaged, I have to immediately buy a new one and replace it. I think I can trace this back to high school. You see, as a kid and then later as a teenager, I didn't really put a lot of thought into owning a wristwatch or uh, you know or why I would need one. And then in junior year, um, my my English class was given a my English class was given an assignment. Uh, you know, do we were to give a speech, a 2 to 3 minute speech on pet peeves. And there was this girl that I liked, and her pet peeve that she gave a speech on was whenever somebody would ask her the time of day. It, as in, excuse me, miss, do you know what time it is? Or, excuse me, miss, do you have the time? For some reason, that that annoyed her and drove her up the wall. So, to avoid being that type of person, I, went out and got a wristwatch. It was one of those, digital watches that had the little compass in the band. It was actually a very good watch, too. It lasted me till my college days. How did it work out with that girl? Um, Her 23-year-old boyfriend stopped me on the way home from school one day and threatened to put a bullet between my eyes if I so much as smiled in her direction. Um, but still, I continued wearing that watch every day. And fast forward to my mid 40s. Fast forward to just a couple days ago. I lose my wristwatch. It just vanished, disappeared. Wasn't in the place where I usually leave it. So I jump on Amazon, order a new watch, so I wouldn't have to go very far out of my way to a store across town to buy it. It's it's a quirk. It's a it's an idiosyncrasy. hard to shake. I'm not even sure I would want to shake it because it just makes me who I am. It's part of what makes me me. Okay, enough with the boring talk about my life. I'm sure you all want to hear about Tucker Carlson. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of theories about about why he was fired. The grassy knoll crowd likes to think it was because he said that the government killed JFK. To be honest, it's going to take a lot more than Carlson saying that he heard from an anonymous source who said he looked at the files to convince me that the government killed him. I'm still going to say that it was the mafia, and that the mafia killed had Kennedy whacked because he double crossed them after after they had helped him steal the 1960 election. Speaking of Kennedys, Robert Kennedy Jr., the gun grabber who wants to put you in front of the International Court at The Hague if you don't believe in Man Bear Pig, said that it was because Carlson had platformed him and talked to him about vaccines. People are saying that it was that it's part of the Dominion lawsuit settlement. Even though Carlson pretty much debunked, Sidney Powell and her theories, and Sean Hannity told even bigger whoppers, but he's not going anywhere. Then there's a harassment suit, which is just total hooey because the plaintiff never even met him in person, and I'm surprised that a competent judge has not laughed it out of his courtroom. The most interesting theory involves Anne Leslie Smith. Anne Leslie Smith actually has roots here in the Central Valley. She was a police chaplain in the Manteca Police Department, and she was also a prison chaplain, and she was the widow of Chester Smith, a country western singer who owned radio stations up and down the Central Valley, including the legendary KTRB. And he owned Modesto's only television station, Channel 19, which was a UHF station. Pardon the aside, but that meant you turned the dial to the top dial, then went down to the bottom dial, then turned it to channel 19, and then you fiddled with the antenna to get as clear a picture as you could. Again, pardon the digression, but a lot of you who who were born before, say, 1993, don't remember what that was like. So yeah, he owned Modesto's only TV station until 73, 74. Then he sold it to a television syndicate that would later become known as Univision, which does Spanish language programming. Well, after Chester Smith died, she became involved with Rupert Murdoch, who, as we all know, is the media mogul who owns Fox News, Sky News, the New York Post. And and a lot of other media organs throughout the English-speaking world. Well, Tucker Carlson gives a speech at the Heritage Foundation, which had heavy religious overtones, and it made a big impression on Anne Leslie Smith, who was already a fan of Carlson. But Rupert Murdoch had some kind of problem with this. He's been said to be extremely squeamish about God talk. Yeah, he prefers to keep things secular. So he fired Carlson, and at the same time Carlson got the axe, he also dumps Anne Leslie Smith. Now, whatever the reason for Carlson's dismissal, it needs to be noted, it needs to be remembered that Carlson was the lone dissenting voice on Fox News of reason and sanity when it came to the Russo-Ukraine conflict. Yeah. Now, Carlson isn't infallible. He's not perfect. He's done things that and said things that I don't agree with. Things that I have vehemently disagreed with, like that time in 2008 when he was the MC for the Ron Paul counter rally. That shadow convention that was held at the same time as the Republican National Convention in 2008. And he rage quit that because he refused to share the stage with John McManus, who at the time was the president of the John Birch Society. And then there was all those times throughout the Trump years where he would push for things like Republican flavored welfare statism, trade protectionism, blame blame libertarians for Republicans lurching left on cultural issues. That never sat right with me. And of course, the time he chopped up the January 6th footage to make it look like a bunch of harmless senior citizens on a self-guided tour. But all those criticisms and all those concerns are trumped by his being the only dissident voice on Fox News's primetime lineup when it came to the Russo-Ukraine conflict. And with him gone, with him out of the picture, what we'll see at Fox News is more cheerleading for American involvement in Ukraine. I predict that they will even go far enough to accuse Biden of being weak and soft on Putin because we don't have thousands of troops committed to the conflict. And the average Fox viewer, and I'm sorry, there's no charitable way to put this, is going to walk away from it thinking that that is the conservative position, that American military adventurism across the globe is the conservative position, because your average, Fox News viewer and daytime talk radio host listener is a low effort thinker. He doesn't think for himself. He doesn't think critically. He watches Fox News and he listens to Hannity and Levin on the radio and Beck to confirm his biases. And he's going to think that fighting for Ukraine is the conservative position. And Fox News is going to attempt to emulate the movie tone newsreels from the 1940s. Because what they're going to do is they're going to take all the conflicts, the Russo-Ukraine conflict, the Middle Eastern wars, the war that some people want with China over Taiwan. Again, pardon the aside, but heaven forbid that happens. As much as I despise the CCP, we're not going to win a war with China. We're not. 3 decades of social engineering, starting with the Clinton administration, has made sure of that. Yeah, but getting back to what I was saying, they're going to force fit all of that into the mold of World War II, and they're going to make China, Russia, and Iran the new axis, and they're going to force fit people like Benjamin Netanyahu and Volodymyr Zelensky as modern day Winston Churchills. And again, the average Fox viewer is going to think that this is, conservative, even though the genuine conservative position is the foreign policy of America's founders: armed neutrality, non-interventionism, free trade. And America first. The way America first is supposed to mean, as in putting America's interests first in America's relationship with the rest of the world. Not what the MAGA crowd would have you think it means, which is, deport all the brown people and then bomb them in their homelands. Now, what will happen to Tucker Carlson post-Fox? I would like to see him start his own platform. He has the following to do it. He's independently wealthy, though if he doesn't want to spend his own money, there are lots of people who will gladly help him in that endeavor. And it would be the best move for him because he would have more latitude than he would if he were to go to work for the Daily Wire or the Blaze or even InfoWars. And if you think he'd get latitude at InfoWars, you might want to have a nice little chat with David Knight about that. But there's also talk that there's a non-compete clause in Carlson's contract with Fox, and that Fox might take legal action to shut down Carlson if he were to start his own platform or go to work for someone else. So we'll see what the future holds, what's going to happen with that, how he'll turn out without network bosses looking over his shoulder. It would be interesting. In presidential politics, Larry Elder has declared his candidacy for president on the Republican side. For those of you who don't remember, he was the one that jumped into the California gubernatorial recall in 2021 at the urging of Conservative Inc. because they didn't like it that Caitlyn Jenner was the front-running Republican in that race. And then he campaigned as mini Trump, sucked the oxygen out of the whole thing, and then rescued defeat from the jaws of victory, resulting in Gavin Newsom surviving the recall attempt and thinking that was a referendum on his rubbish policies and making him even more cocky and arrogant than ever. And now this failure, Larry Elder, is running for president. I think even he knows he's not going to get the nomination. I mean, Trump has it bought, but Larry Elder tends to attract a certain type of Republican voter. And I say this having been a Republican myself for 2 decades before joining the Libertarian Party. Ultimately, the type of voter that he attracts is going to be a white, usually baby boomer, but I've seen older Republicans and younger Republicans do the same thing. Temperamentally, if not ideologically, moderate, and obsessed with proving to his Democrat friends, neighbors, and coworkers that he is not a racist by supporting any black Republican running for any office, from dog catcher to president, regardless his qualifications or lack thereof. This is the sort of person that flocked to Colin Powell when he flirted with running for president in 96 and 2000. The sort of person that tried to convince Ward Connerly to run for office in the late 90s. He was the He was the he was the UC president who tried to lead the fight against affirmative action, but he was actually a very moderate guy. The sort of people who flocked to Herman Cain in 2012, Ben Carson in 2016. Oddly enough, I never saw this type of Republican voter go for Alan Keyes. Probably because Keyes was too philosophically or ideologically thick for their liking, or maybe he was too much of a firebrand. But they never went for Alan Keyes. Um, but yeah, this is a sort of voter that Elder and Tim Scott, who's also in the race, will attract. Joe Biden has announced that he intends to seek re-election and that Kamala Harris, the incumbent vice president, will be his running mate. Boy, did I get that wrong. I was kind of expecting him to make some sort of announcement later in the year that he wasn't going to seek the nomination or accept his party nomination, and that he was just going to serve his one term because of his advanced age and declining health and his declining cognitive functions. And he's not going to be, and the Democrat Party will not be holding any debates in the primary season, at least not officially. Though I'm pretty sure at some point we'll be seeing RFK Jr. and Joe Exotic scream at each other over whether Big Pharma or Carol Baskins is the root cause of America's problems. Also, Donald Trump is he doesn't want to do any debates either. He thinks it's beneath him, and it appears that we're just going to see a repeat of 2020. Giant douche versus turd sandwich. And the Libertarian Party. Let's cross our fingers. I hope they nominate a really good candidate this year, because the people want an alternative. They want something different, and it would be just a golden opportunity for us. And I hope I get to become a delegate to the nominating convention in DC. I mean, I've narrowed it down to 3 prospects, but they have yet to declare. I mean, even though there are already some declared candidates already debating, it's still very early, so we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to. I'm going to wait until later in the year before I commit myself to a candidate. And when I commit my support to that candidate, I will not be anti all the other libertarians running for the presidential nomination. I will be sportsmanlike and gentlemanly in support of my candidate. And I hope other libertarians think the way I do about this, because we don't want or need to devolve, to the level of, your candidate sucks and you're a blue-pilled cuck if you support him level of discourse that that we're going to see in the Republican primaries that we saw before in the 2016 primary, where for months I got called a cuck and a race traitor by Trump supporters because I wasn't going to bend the knee to their orange idol, and then they expected me to jump on their bandwagon after months of talking to me like that after Rand Paul dropped out. And so I'm not going to be that person to other people in the libertarian primary. It's a change that I want to see, and I guess it's just going to have to start with me. All right. Think I've rambled on long enough. I thought it would be a bit longer because I had a lot to go through. Pastor Chris Roseborough is a pastor in the AALC Lutheran denomination. He usually does videos critiquing the charismatic movement, but lately he's been doing a series of videos addressing the Mahlerite controversy in confessional Lutheranism. I think I'll do an installment commenting on that once I see the complete series, which I guess is going to be 4 or 5 videos. But I like what I've seen so far, and I will link to his Rumble channel below so you can see what he's posted on that topic so far, because it's become it's a messy controversy. What I will say so far is is that yes, I do agree with Reverend Harrison, Matthew Harrison. He's the president of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, that white supremacists should be excommunicated from the synod. But I also believe that the clergy and laity who spent the summer of 2020 making excuses for the Bolshevik-led street violence that tore apart our cities that year, they too be called to repent, and if they don't, they should be excommunicated. All right, that's it for now. Think while it's still legal. I'll see you next time. Keep your BS detectors turned on. Love y'all. Great seeing everyone again.